3, 2, 1, roll the footage. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Simon Severino, your host. And today my guest is the Price Whisperer. We are going to go deep into why you need to work on your pricing, exactly how you need to work on your pricing, and the common mistakes that most of us do, and that Per will help us not do so much anymore. Welcome, everybody. Per Sjöfors.
All right. Hey, Simon, and hey, everybody. I'm delighted to be on the show, and hope I can enlighten you on some of the pricing challenges that almost every company has. So,
Absolutely. And how do you pronounce your name in your country? Because I guess I don't get it right.
well, I'm Swedish, so it's Per Sjöfors, if you do it really in Swedish.
Sounds beautiful.
But I'm trying to anglicize it a little bit, so I'm saying Sjöfors. It's easier for those who speak English. Yeah?
Yes, definitely. And Per, what are you currently creating?
Well, there's a I mean, obviously my work, or the work in my company, is all about helping other firms with their pricing strategy, and that's important for a couple of different reasons. One reason is the simple fact that pricing affects profitability more than, I mean, first of all, any company only get profits from three activities. You know, it's the cost of whatever you sell, or the cost of operation of the company. It's how much you sell of whatever you sell, and it's the price of whatever you sell. And of these, price is the most effective profit lever. And profits, of course, are good because without profits, eventually you go out of business. You know, and in fact, among average companies, a 1% change in pricing, meaning a 1% higher price or 1% less discounting, affects profitability, increased profitability 11.3%. And let's say that you don't do 1%, but you do 5%, and suddenly you have 50% more profits, right? If you're like an average company. That makes a big difference, you know. So what I'm working on, I'm doing a whole series of YouTube videos at the current state, and I have a masterclass, everything there is to know about pricing that is available on my on the company's website, and I'm coming out with a book on. It's available today to pre-order from Amazon, but it's going to be available on May 17th. So, and oddly enough, it's called The Price Whisper.
And I'm so excited about it. It's funny that we are both Europeans, but we met in a Los Angeles-based network of entrepreneurs. And we both run a weekly show there, and your show is about pricing, obviously. And I came there and I really learned a couple new concepts, like the pricing wall, for example, that I didn't know. Yeah. And so it's really great and very precise work that you're doing. I'm really excited to go deeper and to share with our whole community the cool stuff that you're doing. One thing is, you see a lot of companies leaving money on the table. Can you walk us through some things that you see where people leave money on the table?
Yeah, in general terms, almost all companies are very timid in their pricing. They often they look at competition and they say, you know, we have to be the same price as competition, and that comes from well, I'm saying timidness. What it really comes from is that they don't know what specific benefits and specific features and functions that drives a higher willingness to pay. It also comes from that they haven't identified the customer segment that may have a higher willingness to pay than a general market or other customer segments. So they or if they have identified, they've done so from gut feel or guesses, and maybe demographics, which has often little to do with what people are willing to pay for a product or service. And then when company goes out and ask their customers, which they sometimes do in one way or another, about what they're willing to pay, customers will lie. Not everybody, of course, but enough of customers and prospects will lie that they get a skewed understanding of the true willingness to pay.
So by lying, you mean, yeah, I would pay that, but it's just saying that they would pay. It's not actually paying. So when we test, we should rather test by letting them pay like 100% of the final price or 85%.
Well, I mean, I used to, as an example, I mean, if you're buying a new car and you really want it in white, would you tell the car salesman that if you have it in white, I'll pay another $2,000? No, you wouldn't. You say, if you have it in white and you knock another $1,000 off the price, I'll buy it. That's what you say. And this is just human behavior. Even though it would be worth for you to pay extra if that car you want is available in white, that's not what you're going to tell the seller, you know. And this leads to a skewed view on what people are actually willing to pay. So when and let's step back a little here, and and this has to do with the psychology of pricing. And what I mean with that is that the price of a product or a service, and this works equally well in business to business to consumer product and services. The price is the most powerful message of quality and benefit, right? And if you price yourself too low, you're always going to see a lower sales volume. And, you know, I've talked to so many people over the years, you know, often CEOs of sort of mid-market companies. They said, well, we increased our price, and to our big surprise, we saw an increase in sales because they were so underpriced, right? So if you're an entrepreneur and you want to have at least some kind of understanding in your startup company, how to price, go out and ask 24 or maybe 36 potential customers 2 questions. Ask them, for this product or service, what is a price that is so low that you don't think you're going to buy it because it can't be any good at that price? And then you also ask them this next question, which is, what is a price that is so high that you wouldn't buy it no matter how good it is, right? And then you take the average of those 2 points. And again, you need to talk to potential customers here, not your family, not your friends. It needs to be complete strangers that could be buyers of your product, right? Now, if you can't find 2 or 3 dozen of those, then you can't find 2 or 3 dozen of those that are willing to buy your product in the first place, you know, right? So, but when you average those 2 points, you have 2 price points. One is don't price below this point, and the other is don't price above this point, right? So at least you have a range of where your prices should be. And then, of course, you need to look at how competition is pricing, and but it's a lot more. It's also how they're positioned and so forth. There's a whole lot more to learn about this. But this, if you're looking at a startup company, this is a good starting point.
What about the psychology of the numbers? There are different schools, right? There is the school that says make it 97, 99, hide the number. And then there are other schools who go 3,000, 12,000, 25,000, straightforward.
Yeah.
What is your take on that psychology?
Well, it really depends on what the product or service is. If this is a if this is a product or service that's in a highly commoditized place, like consumer goods in many cases, then pricing on the 9, meaning 99, 97, 95, leads to higher sales. And that is because, let's say you have something that is 1995 versus 20, right? Whether it's dollars or euros, it doesn't matter here, when we read the 19, we actually read the first digit 1, and that becomes our anchor. So when we read 1999 or 1995 versus 20, the difference to us is $10 or 10 euros, because it's a 1 and it's a 2, right? And that is what the rest of the price is sort of just blurred. It's there, but it doesn't make a big difference, So in our minds, there's a $10 difference or 10 euro difference between 1995 and 20, right? So that's why that works. But specific to your question, this is related to products that is very commoditized. If you have a product or a service that is highly where you want to position yourself as being the sort of high, what do you call it, high value alternative, high benefit alternative, then you will not do the 99 or 95, look at luxury goods. They are never sold on 99, right? Because that is something that degrades the perception of value. But when you're in a very competitive consumer goods market, that's not an issue,
I remember I once booked a workshop with Seth Godin, and he said, "Hey, we're gonna work on your marketing, and it's 3,000." And it was so different from everybody who was saying, "Hey, come to my course, it's 199.9731." It was so completely different. It's 3,000, okay? It's good. It costs, and you can book it if you want. And I liked it. And I was like, it gives me confidence that that's a good workshop. And it was a good workshop.
Yeah. Well, there's another thing with this as well, and especially when we look at consultants and so forth, the price also becomes a qualifier, and Seth is obviously famous for what he does, but if you even if you're not Seth Godin, you want to make sure that the people that buy your services are committed to do whatever you recommend them to do. And if you have if you made a serious investment as a company or as an individual, you are much more likely to follow the advice that you're going to get, as opposed to if that investment's been very low. And that's one of the things why why, for example, loyalty programs should be paid for, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I discovered this. In the 1980s I lived in Zurich, and during my time there, the Swiss railway company came up with something they called the half price card, and it was something that you paid 100 Swiss francs for, and once you paid it, you get half price off the railroad tickets, and when this came out, I made a sort of quick ROI calculation, and I realized that if I buy the card and I go on 3 trips, it paid for itself, so I have a positive ROI. Obviously, once I had it, I bought a lot more tickets, but because I made that investment, it made me look at taking the train more than just driving a lot more, So, and if you look at it, for example, here in the States, at least, Amazon Prime is, they call it a membership, but it's a loyalty card, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Amazon have 130 million people who are paying, I think it's now $129 a month for being a year, sorry, for being members in Amazon Prime. And also there's a membership store here called Costco that has 90 million people that are paying a similar amount to be a member in Costco, and it works, because you made that investment.
Did you see what happened yesterday to Netflix? They were slaughtered, minus 26% the price of their stock, because they had a delta of 200,000 subscribers less than expected. Do you have any hypothesis what's going on there in their pricing?
Well, historically we have measured what people are willing to pay for Netflix, and we've done this a couple of times, and we have seen that over time people's willingness to pay for Netflix subscription has gone up, but not anymore, because there's much more competition out there than it used to be. It used to be Netflix, and then HBO came out, and Amazon came out, and
we have Disney Plus,
came out,
yeah,
and so there's much more competition. And what Netflix did, they sort of blamed it on people who share their login details with other family members, which is just BS, right? It's because there's so many more alternatives out there, and we're in a situation that very similar to what it was when we had cable TV. You paid $100 a month and you got, I don't know, 150 channels, of which you watched 7 on the average, or 5 on the average, right? And now with all the streaming choices, we have a similar situation. I mean, I can go and get by a dozen different streaming services and pay $100 or $150 a month for it, but I don't, because I think I have 3 of them and that's enough, and I don't have the specific urge to pay more money than I do for video streaming. And I think my personal situation is very similar to others,
One of the concepts that you explain in the book and in your masterclass is segmentation. And that's a very, very powerful concept that I want you to share with our audience after one word from our sponsors. What if your business would run well even when you are on vacation? Discover how 1,600 business owners have regained their freedom using the Strategyprints blueprints. how they enjoy living their dream and watching their business scale. Get the exact checklists they use to go from stressed to fulfilled using the Strategyprints method. Order your copy of Strategyprints 12 Ways to Accelerate Growth for an Agile Business on Amazon today. And if you love it, leave us a review. For more information, head over to strategyprints.com.
And I can assure everybody that listens that this is a great book. I've read it, and it's what I really like is that it's so practical. It's not. I've read a lot of books about entrepreneurship, and most of them are all about sort of getting people to take that step into entrepreneurship and motivate people. And my belief is that if you don't have that motivation from within you, you're not going to be very successful. But what you do need is more than motivation. You actually need the practical to-dos, and that's what the book is full of. So I love it.
Thank you so much. Means a lot. And what is segmentation, and how do we do that?
Well, if you think about segmentation, is all about let's again step a little bit back. What the whole basis of the services in my company is to measure what people are willing to pay, and we have a method of doing it that I invented, and it's possible to with great accuracy predict sales volume and revenue at different prices. But segmentation then is to split that single measurement in different ways. And it starts by doing customer segmentation, and that means identify the profile of those customers that will lead to the highest sales volume and the highest revenue. And it sometimes it can be very. Let me give you some examples. All right, let me do this for in a project that we did in Europe. Actually, this is a particular accessory to bicycles, right? And what we found was that, and we did this in 4 different countries in Europe, and what we found was that, 3 different countries, and we found that in one country, the profile of those who led to the highest would lead to the highest prices, highest and most profitable prices, were those who used the bicycle and used the accessory when they were commuting to work. In another country, what led to the highest prices was when they used the bike to see family and friends. And in the third country, it was those who used the bicycle and wanted to use this accessory when they went out in nature, that would lead to the highest prices. So this means that for this particular vendor, they needed to have different marketing messages in different countries, and it meant that they also had to focus differently on how they promoted. I mean, your advertising for somebody who is commuting is going to be very different from your advertising when somebody wants to use the bike to go into nature, right? And those different audiences had different channels where they wanted to learn about this particular accessory, and it overall by segmenting the customers and by segmenting the marketing messages, as I mentioned, it led to an overall market that was about 45 to 50% larger than should they have only a single message and a single channel to go to market with.
Wow, such a small difference makes
Yeah,
45%, 50% difference. Wow.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and but what do most companies do? They don't do this. They say our market is customers who do X, and then they believe that's valid for everybody. No, it's not. So yeah, it's a little bit more involved when you do segmentation like that. But when when your market can expand from sort of say being in this case maybe 30 or so million potential customers to 45 um, potential customers, it makes a big difference, right? And not only that, because because not only will it expand its potential market, but it also means that for those segments, the marketing messages are more relevant, means that it leads to higher willingness to buy.
You just came out with your book, The Price
Mm-hmm.
Whisperer. How was the process of writing the book for you?
Oh, the process was, I mean, like most entrepreneurs, I work quite a bit. So it took a long time. But um, I really started doing the book by, I've done a lot of articles and a lot of blog posts, and I actually had reasons to count them all here about a week ago, and there's 248 of them. And that's been published in different channels over many years. So I started by taking them all and creating sort of one big document of them, and my idea was to take these articles and sort of just add some glue text between the various articles. That didn't work.
Nice
But it was
try.
a starting point. Yeah, it was a starting point. And I ended up having to rewrite almost all of it. But at least I had that starting point, and it helped me in my thinking of how to what to cover and how to cover it in the book. But it was a bit of it took a long time. And I do a lot of stories in the book and a lot of examples, um, and my publisher they were adamant that everything needed to have proper references and stuff like that. So so it was that also took a long time, because there are lots of things that but you don't exactly know where it comes from. So
Exactly.
I, I had to do a lot of digging, and I I had a VA who spent a lot of time finding those references and so forth.
Same here.
So
She was asking me, "Hey Simon, where is this from?" And I say, "Parmenide, Plato." And she said, "No, more recently." And I said, "Come on,
yeah,
everything was said by Parmenide, 80%." She says,
yeah,
"No, we need
exactly.
it more precise, Simon."
Yeah, that's right. But the book is it's distributed by Simon and Schuster, so it's going to be in every bookstore in the U.S. And I'm excited to to see how many I sell. My publisher is saying that this is going to be a bestseller,
I
because
hope
it
so, because it's
yeah,
so precise. Your work comes from the field. You're a
yeah,
practical guy. You sit
yeah,
down with hundreds of companies. You dig down into their markets. You test. You find. You come back. You say, "Look what I found." And so when these people, when they write a book, that's that's unbelievable. It's a bargain, right? You're getting
yeah,
hundreds of hours of real learning in the real field. I mean,
yeah.
that's worth millions for most
I
businesses. I
think
mean,
Yeah, I think that's actually an important thing I want to talk about before we wrap up here. The reason I got into this is that this pricing game, if you like, is that I ran companies, and I ran two companies in Europe, and then I came here to the States in the mid-90s to establish and run a division of a fairly large public company, and after that I've been running another four companies before I decided I was too old and too opinionated to be a hired gun, and it was time to start my own. But we did experiments with pricing, only because it was an interest area. And some of those experiments worked very well, meaning like next quarter revenues are up 25%. Other experiments were complete disasters. And what I had learned in business school was so academic and theoretical that it didn't help at all to for us to understand why some of those experiments worked. So when I then 14 years ago decided I was too old and too opinionated to be a hired gun, I started my own company, and I developed a process that would make every pricing experiment a success. So, and that's very practical, like you say. If you theories ain't cutting it,
And
So,
people can have it now. They can get the book, which
yeah.
is a bargain, and they can get your newest masterclass, right?
Yeah, the masterclass is really it's everything there is to know about pricing and pricing process. It's 19 episodes, 19 video episodes, and for the audience here, for your audience, Simon here, I can offer a discount code, 20% discount code, because yes, I do charge for it. There's several man month of work in creating that masterclass. So, and obviously it's available from our website. But and not only is it that you get if you take the class, you get a certificate, and and obviously also some time with me to answer any questions and give some help as you go through your best practice pricing journey, so to speak. So
That's a great offer. Where can we grab it? What's the website?
well, it's well, the website is my name, Sjöfors.com. And then there's a link there, masterclass, develop your pricing process, pricing power, I should say. Sorry. So I put a link here in the chat if that's distributed to the audience with a
People,
discount code.
this masterclass, it's better than Netflix. I was in one of those live classes and I learned so much, and I am in the
Yeah.
field since 20
Yeah.
years. So this is really precise. I'm the first one
Yeah.
to book this pair. I want all 19 lessons. And I think it's cooler than Netflix, and also really, really practical from the real
Yeah, it's
field.
really practical. Yeah, just like I mentioned here, if you're an entrepreneur and need to have a starting point for your pricing, find out what those limitations on too cheap and too expensive are, and at least you have a better data point than trying to look at a competitor. So
I mean, what is the best use of our time? If we are entrepreneurs, if we run a
mhm.
business, what is really the best use of our time? I when I have, when I prioritize what to put my
Mhm.
attention on, I always go, okay, how can I increase the price, the frequency of my sales, and the conversion rate? These are the three things that matter most to me as a business owner. And
Yeah.
if these 19 classes can give me just one idea that works in my business, I mean, how much is this worth for me? That's, we're talking
Well, I
here
mean, you
big
anyone
numbers.
anyone who follows the advice in the masterclass will see a doubling of sales growth and 25 to 40% higher margins. Now, what do you do with the higher margins? Well, you put it back into your company, of course. You put it back in the company as more marketing, more product development, or service definitions, and so it accelerates growth, right? Let me just give you a couple of examples of just recent prior customers. We just delivered a project to a company who they sell purified water in dispensers that are all over the place, in grocery stores and places like that. And we told our client that they could increase prices with between 25 and 40% without any loss in sales volume, which they did. And I got a note from the CEO that they didn't see any loss in sales volume. We gave them $50 million a year, right? I got an unsolicited email from a prior customer we did work for about a year ago, and he said it was a screenshot from his financial system of some kind, and what I can see was that his sales volume was down a little bit. His margin was up with 42%.
Wow.
And what he said was that, all right, so we sell a little less, which is less work for us, and our margins are up with more than 40%. So less headaches,
Win-win.
less work, more money.
More life, more money. It's beautiful.
Yeah, exactly.
And Per, once more for the people who are just listening to the podcast, what's the URL and what should they click?
Okay, so it's Sjöfors.com, SJOFORS.com, right? And there's a tremendous amount of information on the website. Not only the masterclass, but there's lots of podcasts that I've been interviewed on. There's lots of articles that I've been writing, and also blog posts and so forth. So there's a wealth of information for anybody who's interested in getting prices. There's also you can download a guide to the best practice on how to increase prices if you have returning customers, which I hope you do. There's a process you want to use, to increase prices, and you can download that guide. It's free. There's a calculator that we created, very simple, where you put in your revenue and your costs, and then you can look at price increases or decreases in discounts and see how much it affects your profitability. So you can very quickly see what a few percent difference in price will do for your business.
This is so relevant. Relevant. Not everybody knows the impact of a price increase on their profitabilities. Super important.
Would you know this? That this is amazing. We did a study to a statistically significant number of American CEOs here, and we asked them. We started this to say that profitability only comes from three variables: the cost, the sales volume, and the price. And 82% of American CEOs believe that it's the sales volume that affects pricing the most, and only 12% say it's pricing.
Yeah.
They don't realize that if you increase,
right?
Yeah. And if you obviously if you increase sales, you increase cost, right? Because there's some kind of cost of goods sold, and even if you're in a service business or a software business where the actual cost of selling another unit is low, there's customer support and stuff like that, and there's development cost needs to be
cost of sales, cost of work going up.
Correct. Yeah. So, but only 12% now, and those are typically the companies who are aspiring or already are the market leaders in their field.
So were these public companies or private?
These were they were a mix of private and public companies. So
sometimes but the public companies they mix it up because they think just in 3 months and just in what shareholders want to see.
Yeah, but there's a strong correlation between. We just did an analysis of public companies, and we looked at revenue and valuation, and and there's a strong correlation between revenues and profits and valuation. So. And we did this just because we don't have access to financial data for private companies, obviously. So we did it for these public companies. So it makes a difference if you're an entrepreneur, you own your company, you want to make sure that you maximize revenue and you maximize profits.
Super interesting. This week is full of earnings reports. I'm watching them very closely. In a couple hours, the Tesla earning reports. I'm watching them very closely. Revenues are going up, but you don't know. You don't know what's happening. We've seen Netflix yesterday. Sometimes the gap is quite big.
Yeah, and I mean, the share price of any company is really it's a belief in the future of a company, and in Netflix case, obviously when they had the same dip when Disney Plus came out, right? That was 2 years ago, I think. But Disney Plus also they I think they're only $5 a month, right? So there is. The competition is increasing very substantially in the streaming space, and there's still new streaming companies coming out, and there's so much choices, and I think the market is simply oversaturated, and that's what we see with Netflix. Loss of subscribers, and they increased their prices 2 months ago, right?
Thank you so much, Per, for being here, sharing your wisdom, your journey, your tools, your masterclasses with us, and even a 20% discount on your newest masterclass. And people, let's get this masterclass. Let's increase our profitability in the end by increasing our price. How cool is that?
Well, thank you. Thank you, Simon, for having me, and I hope this is of interest for the people watching, and that I've added some value to your day. So
absolutely, I will also collect the questions that we get, and maybe we can do a second one in a later month to answer those questions.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
Thank you, Per. Keep rolling.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hey, if you love what you are hearing, you will love our free masterclasses. Go grab them at Strategyprints.com.
What if your business would run well even when you are on vacation? Discover how 1,600 business owners have regained their freedom using the Strategyprints blueprints. How they enjoy living their dream and watching their business scale. Get the exact checklists they use to go from stressed to fulfilled using the Strategyprints method. Order your copy of Strategyprints 12 Ways to Accelerate Growth for an Agile Business on Amazon today. And if you love it, leave us a review. For more information, head over to strategyprints.com.